everybody, how are you? So I'm starting to do a lot of different videos now and different posts based on the Panacea that I am working on, which is a whole body remedy or whole encompassing mind, body, soul, or mind, body, spirit remedy for healing, holistic way of healing. So I'm doing it based on the chakras, and today is Tuesday, so that is the root chakra, and we're going to start exploring different ways to ground, which is what the root chakra is based on, and meditation is a very good way to work with the root chakra. And meditation is always something that a lot of people either really sink into and work well with and really enjoy and really believe in. And I also hear that a lot of people really struggle to understand it or just really struggle to kind of get in the mode of meditation. And I kind of fall somewhere in the middle, I guess, but I don't do very well sometimes with really clearing the mind or achieving, that perfect quieting of the mind. And I think that is difficult, especially for people, who are kind of neurodivergent. I have ADHD, people, with like autism, things like that, who have that constant racing mind. I think that's kind of a very tough thing to do, to just kind of sit in quietness and stillness and try and quiet the mind and mindfulness and getting the mind to quiet itself with nothing else but total quiet in the room and trying to get the mind to think of nothing, which is kind of the classic way to meditate. So what I want to offer you are different methods of meditation, which some people are very against and some people are very for, and I'm personally a pro multiple ways of meditating. So one of the ways that work for me is something called Neuroart. And you might think, well, what in the world does art have anything to do with meditation? It's kind of a bit of a guided meditation. You've probably heard of guided meditation. One of the guided meditations that I use, that I post a lot of times, are the daily calm meditations that I use at nighttime with the daily habit checklists. That's just kind of a 10-minute guided meditation. That is an app that I use. That is also a nice way of using prompts and listening to something which kind of guides you back into that mindfulness and kind of gives you something to at least kind of pull your mind back in if it wanders. So that's also a good way to do it. You can either just kind of explore it for free, or it's kind of like a one-time fee per year. But if money is an object, then that might be a little out of the realm, but you can find a lot of other guided meditations that you can always use. But neurographic art is something that I started exploring, and I'm still a little bit new to it. I've only done maybe 5 or so artworks. It's a totally different art form than I'm used to. I do dabble with art, and I have for a long time, but it's a totally different, unique art form that anybody can do, and that's what I really love about it. And I'm going to show you, if you don't mind my bringing you around. So this is kind of one of my earlier artworks that is my general style. But here are 2 of my actual neurographic art. I know it's kind of shining because it's got glass on it. But they're actually 2 different styles, but they're both neurographic art. So the bottom one is more the one that I'm going to guide you through. I might do the top one, which is a very specific type, which is kind of a goals neuro tree that I might do eventually with you. But the bottom one is the type that I'm going to work on with you today. And this is going to be a multi-parter because I can't do it all at once, and this is something that you would actually is going to take a long time to actually do. And you can kind of do certain parts on your own in between, because I can't go through all the motions with you. So let's start with talking about, as you can see, it uses kind of shapes and curved lines. So Neurographica is kind of a meditative form where you kind of get into your thoughts and you use art to rewire the neurons in your brain to actually start rewiring your thought patterns. So the things that you'll need are, so we're not going to probably do quite as much of the actual art today because I'm kind of explaining things as we go along. So you're going to need a journal because you will actually be stopping to write your thoughts as you go along. Okay, so like I have a nice one that kind of spoke to me with some really pretty artwork in it. And then you'll need a Sharpie marker. I like one that has both a thicker tip and also the thinner tip as well. But definitely at least the thicker tip if nothing else. And then you might want to do it in pencil first if you're really uncomfortable, you know, if art is something that you've never done before. You might want to kind of do something in pencil first and then go over it with marker. So you might want a pencil. And then you're going to want some colored pencils. And they don't have to be anything super special. I mean, if they're a little more artistic, you know, art based, that would be better than, you know, the typical Crayola ones. And then a set of markers with, you know, as many colors as you would like available, but you can start with something very, very basic and as few colors as, you know, as you need to just at least get started with your first. And then as you get more into it, you can obviously expand. So we use a couple of shapes to represent your thoughts. So the first one that we're going to work on is an intuitive one. So you want to pick a specific issue or topic that you are kind of having an issue with, kind of that you want to resolve in your mind. So for example, I will kind of get personal here, and one of the things that I actually list in my daily habits, my daily habit checklist that I'm trying to work through are rerouting like habits that no longer serve me. And it's kind of like some OCD type of mind habits that are from a former life, not like truly former life, but kind of a life that I've gotten past, that I've healed past, but that my mind keeps hanging on to certain things that I used to have to be in survival mode all the time, that I've gotten past that and I've escaped that life and I'm trying to create a new life for myself, and I've healed from a lot of things, but there are certain trauma-based survival mode habits that I have a hard time breaking, that my mind likes to have these OCD habitual things that I keep doing that I really want to try and break, certain patterns that I want to let go of. And I've put that on my daily checklist and I just can't seem to get past it. And I keep kind of doing either a check X or an X, and I can't seem to get past that. And I'm trying to replace it. One of my big things is trying to replace habits with newer habits, and sometimes that's successful, but I still fall back into my old habits, my old patterns. So this is one of those things where when you're really having a hard time with something, and sometimes it can even be something physical. One of the artworks that I did was actually my car giving me trouble, and I actually did something to dissolve an issue. It's kind of a different type of algorithm of the artwork, and as soon as I did that artwork, it actually dissolved the pattern. So even something that you don't think you have control over, somehow, I swear this works. Every artwork that I have done, it has truly started to work. So even if you think it's something that is not possible, try and go with it and see what happens. So you want to pick, we're going to start first by drawing shapes. And you can, the main ones that we really work with are circles. Circles are really big, squares, and triangles. So just to kind of give you a quick rundown of like the meaning of circles, they have no beginning, they have no end. They go on forever. And yes, I am reading. It's a little cheat sheet. And they are, they are perfect. They go on forever. Their movement suggests energy and power. They imply completeness. They protect, they endure, and they also restrict. So if you're trying to, restrict something, this is a perfect shape to use. A lot of the neurographic artwork, if you look that up, you'll see a lot of use of circles. They offer safety and connection. They can find what's within and keep things out. Circles represent continuity, integrity, continuity and perfection, and community. And then squares and rectangles are stable. They're familiar and trusted shapes and suggest honesty and groundedness. They represent order, rationality, formality. They are seen as earthbound. They suggest conformity, peacefulness, solidity, security, and equality. And then triangles. So triangles I kind of use especially for, I'll use like especially if a circle represents something. Triangles are great use to, if you point them in certain directions, you can use them to increase something if you point them up or like this way on the paper, or to decrease, if you want to decrease whatever that circle represents or that square represents, to decrease, to go either the backwards way on the paper or pointing them down. I use them a lot for that meaning. Triangles can be stable when sitting on their base or unstable when not. They represent dynamic movement, tension, action, and aggression. Triangles have energy and power, and their unstable dynamic can suggest either conflict or steady strength. They are balanced and can be symbol for law, science, and religion. Triangles can direct movement based which way they point, which is what I was just trying to explain. They can be used to suggest familiar themes like pyramids, arrows, and pennants. Spiritually, they represent the religious trinity. They can suggest self-discovery and revelation. The strength of triangles is associated with masculinity. They can be used to convey progression, direction, and purpose. So those are the three shapes that we kind of use. We might add things like spirals or triangle or stars or something like that, like maybe kind of later on when we start to add color or something like that. Those are the three larger shapes. So what I want you to do is I want you to take your marker, and especially with the thicker tip, is that I want you to think of the main things that whatever your larger theme represents, and then think of breaking them down. And you can write this down, and you're going to want to write this down in your journal as well. And you're definitely going to want to represent and write down what each of the bigger shapes that you draw on your paper, on your drawing paper, so that's also obviously what you're going to need as well, is good drawing paper or printer paper, something like that. But it's better if you do drawing paper. Make sure you have something underneath it, if it's going to bleed or whatever. So you're going to want to write in your journal what each of the larger shapes represents. So I want you to start thinking about your larger theme and then breaking it down into your smaller themes, and draw your shapes on the paper and think about where you place them too, because that also sometimes has some power as well, okay? So if you notice, if you can hear it, I kind of have some meditative music on, and I want you to really kind of be listening to that and really get into your mind when you're drawing these shapes. So I'm going to kind of get a little bit quiet and really be thoughtful when I'm doing this, and I want you to do the same, okay? So if you want to do this with me or just do this on your own, that is perfectly fine, but I'm going to kind of get quiet and just listen to the music while I start thinking about this, okay? Okay, so here's what I came up with, and I might change things as I think about them, but I'm going to write in my journal after I turn this off and write what those shapes mean so that I have an idea. And in the next video that I make for next week, we will start to talk about the actual neurographic lines that we will draw. And go ahead, and I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope that you will join me in this. And if you notice, I did kind of make things a little bit darker because the shapes were not quite what I wanted them to be. They were kind of not, as round, or my lines just didn't flow as well as I wanted them to. And you can certainly do that, or you can actually draw another line around them and make it, make them like a doubled line if you're not real happy with the way that they were shaped. There's a lot of ways that you can make things look a little bit better than they originally were made. If you're unhappy with the way that it looked, but they certainly don't need to be a perfect shape, and it will look better once you color things, and you can kind of make up for the way that they're shaped once you actually color them. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with that, so don't worry about perfect shapes. Like I said, this is by no means any perfect art form, so you can be a complete novice with artwork and do this. So that is it for today, and I hope that you enjoyed this. Have a great day. Bye.